Start the stream. Just to dance with you. Whoa, whoa. I'm so happy just to dance with you. I don't want to kiss or hold your hand.
Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, not what you don't.
And here we are. Happy Monday. Or as the title card says, Lil DIY and Wrong Extinction Event. What the heck does that mean? Good morning. Good morning, people. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, appreciate it as he tries to get comfortable on his chair.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
That coffee's hot. We'll see how long that lasts. Look how big the face is. You see the guys from Mystery Science Theater there? See, I'm on the big screen. Hey, look, Ma, I made it to the big screen. Poor Ma can't even see this. Her computer went on the fritz. And I think the guy who was supposed to fix it stole her computer, replaced it with a lemming. Yeah, people are weird like that. You know, what kind of motivation do you get from that?
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
You betch'em. Do you know what this is? Power Mac G5 User's Guide. See that? They used to give you these things. They're about the width of my book. I get all kinds of stuff in here. Some secrets I learned. OSX maintenance. Open terminal. Right? See invisible library folder. Hold down Option key and select Go at top. It's like a little thing they give you to open the car. Get the SIM card out of your iPhone. See that? You know that? See, this is the thing I was trying to tell you. You see the shape of that SIM card and everything? The SIM card is the exact same thing that's in your like your credit card and your whatchamacallit, your ATM card. Yeah, it's a SIM card. I'm not going to show you my credit card. Some hacker out there. I got a headache. Not really. I don't know, just something. Maybe I got too rambunctious, or I'm about to have Scanner Nightly, stroke on TV. Let's get this thing out of the way.
The Weather Watch forecast.
Yeah, it looks like this. And I'm very disappointed in this because this is Monday and it's showing precipitation, but the map that I pulled up out of NOAA was the one that showed temperatures. So, what's up with that? And, these temperature predictions are usually 50% wrong. So I'm going to have to go and look at my own temperature. It's currently 55 degrees outside of my studio. Today is supposed to be partly sunny. Originally, it was supposed to be sunny. Sun rises at 7:08 a.m. It's currently 6:24 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on September 27th, Monday, September 27th in the calendar year 2021 in the former United States. At 8 a.m. it will be sunny, but that's of no consequence or good to me. But then it gets partly sunny. I still may go out at 8 a.m. and do some weed whacking as much as I don't want to. Things are totally out of control. As far as your neck of the woods, you can kind of see what's going on. Rain and thunderstorms and stuff still up in the Pacific Northwest. There's some mixed precipitation already happening in some parts up there in the Northwest. And it looks like upstate New York, you got some rain, maybe a thunderstorm. And, there's a critical fire weather possible in western Nevada. Anyway, that's your...
The Weather Watch forecast.
And, of course, at any time, you can feel free to go back and freeze the screen and check out your weather. Now, the title of this show, again, which was kind of weird, I always hated that lil. Like people who do that, lil somebody, right? There was first of all, there was one guy who first did it, and then these other 10 other rappers decided to use lil. It's like, what do you're over the age of 18 now. I think, get a life, be a man. Of course, these guys, they make millions of dollars because they say lil. So maybe that'll get me a few more viewers, more than one. Yesterday I had one. Anyway, it said Lil DIY and Lil Extinction events. Well, let's get the DIY out of the way. And yes, I could feel many a clearing of the throat coming up. Pardon me for that. Attic before is what I did yesterday, and why I started this show after 6 a.m. because I slept well because I worked. Here's the image of the day. Let me just move this up. These aren't even exact, they were taken with two different cameras. So one has a kind of a wider angle on it. But if you look closely, you can see it's the same spot. All right. So on the left side is where I put caulk. This is how to fix your attic, and this is DIY, okay? I would love to have set up some tripod and camera and talk to you, but all you would have been doing is looking at my back, because the space is, you can see the space is so tight to work in, because if you see that green, on the left-hand side, those green boards, I had to sawzall to access the slant rafters of the roof that are leaking. So the amount of space between that fake wall that had been put up there maybe 160 to 100 years ago, I don't know which owner of this previous owner did that. I had to take that out to access this slanted roof in between those rafter things. Anyway, the DIY portion of this is that, there was no way I could get a camera in there. There's barely room for me. It was a back-breaking, knee-jarring, just insane experience, and it must have taken a lot out of me because I slept and slept and slept. I was in bed for I probably slept 10 hours, I think. I slept 10 hours. I don't know. And yesterday, remember I said, if you watch the show, that I had a good morning, good night's sleep, and it was a good morning. Well, anyway, here's the DIY portion of this. I watch a lot of DIY channels, so it's, I'm into this thing. And you should be too, because this could happen to anybody. It could happen to you when you're young in love. So on the left-hand side, I took this rather expensive caulking that purchased at a box store that was basically more than just caulk. It was called, it was 100% waterproof sealant caulk, okay? 100% waterproof. I've got leaks in between the boards. See, on the left-hand side is what our focus is right now. And if you see where the if you see the areas where I didn't cover it with that mesh, which is like kind of drywall mesh that you put when you're going to do mud and taping, that's what I use there. But if you look towards on the right of that left-hand picture, you can see the gaps between the boards. All right, and that's where I believe the leaks were coming in. Though I also believe some of the leaks may have been coming in through the nails where they nailed these shingle things in, and perhaps some of the boards that had cracked a little bit. All right. So I put the caulk in those holes, all right, or those gaps, covered it with mesh. I let it dry for 24 hours, all right. And then I came back the next day. Now we move our attention to the right side picture, okay? And on the right, you can see I covered everything, and you really literally can't even see the mesh. If you look closely down the bottom, what looks to be a cat litter box is a cat litter box. Because I had before, and they're still there, because I don't know if this is going to work. This is an experiment. That's how I was capturing the water that was leaking from the roof. And there was no way I could get to the roof because it's about 4 stories up. Nobody wants to touch it. And to put a new roof on, they want like $20,000. I didn't pay $20,000 for this house. I'm not going to pay more to put a new roof on. And they don't have patchers, people that come up, fix-it guys anymore. Or a fix-it guy who has a ladder that goes up 4 stories and he's also bonded because he's probably going to fall and break his neck. So then I covered this with this actual roof coating. This is something that people used on the other side, on the actual roof side, to seal leaks. And so I covered the mesh on the left, and as I was doing it, you see all those little things poking through those protrusions. Those were the nails. And as I was doing it, I was realizing, some of these nails are rusty. Now, how do you get a rusty nail inside? And so the conclusion was, well, maybe the water's coming in through those nails, ergo, that's how they got rusted. I don't know. So I ended up covering more than just the mesh. I ended up covering the space between because I was also discovering these micro cracks in the wood, which if you look closely on the left-hand side, you could kind of see them, in the wood over there in a couple of spots. Now, there are 3 areas in my attic that were problematic. In other words, that were actually leaking and had at one point had leaked and water down into the 2nd floor. This is the 3rd floor attic that at one time was a room. That's why there's that green tongue and groove or whatever, wainscoting, whatever you want to call it, that I had to open up. But if it was used as a room, it was many, 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 many decades ago. And so this is where we are right now. And that's DIY. That's how you fix your leaky roof from the inside. But the story isn't over because I won't really know until it rains to see if this 3-step process works. And so the process was A, fill all the cracks with 100% waterproof caulk sealant, cover those cracked areas with a mesh that you would use on drywall and have that adhere to that caulk. It looks kind of messy on the left-hand side, but the idea is I was pressing it down to make contact so that it sealed, not only filled the crack, the gap, but that it was attached to that. And then cover this whole thing with another waterproof actual roof thick sealant. Now, how the heck could and all those nails basically made sure that they were all covered with this sealant as well, so that that nothing could drip through there. And I guess I won't know till we get a torrential downpour. I'm pretty certain, like 99% certain, that if we get light rain, there's not going to be any leaks on that right side. However, if it's one of those, raining sideways right at this thing, that'll be the true test. So obviously I've kept all of those. Like I say, if you look at the bottom of the right, you'll see a bluish container, and I've got dozens of those up in the attic. And this isn't the only place I had a leak. So there was another area that I worked on that was, like I say, it was backbreaking work. So that's the DIY portion of the program. That was your image of the day, and this is the attic before. So
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
That's the name. That's me. And we're still pushing with Then What book, which is right up here. You got to buy it. It's a good book. I think I talk about the attic in there a little bit. There might even be a photo. I'm not sure. Forget. I'm waiting for delivery. I think they were shipped. I'm not sure. I just did a check, but I can't tell. So anyway, we covered the weather, we covered the attic. Now let's look at the news. Now, what I've been using for the news the past couple days, this is when I just turned on YouTube. All right? And, it's not nice to hate. You mustn't hate. You shouldn't hate anybody. Okay. So up in the upper left-hand corner, this is like the YouTube. This is their version, the title cards. You've seen my title card, because that's why you're here. Good morning, America. Right? We'll get into that later. That's a title card. And so these things are their title cards. And so we have in the upper left-hand corner, this looks like they're, even though they've been trying to deflect with the story of this poor person that has, was this poor victim, this woman victim that we talked about yesterday, where they were using the unfortunate tragedy of a family to draw attention away from what happened in Afghanistan. If you look at the upper left of this YouTube screen, if you've never been, obviously it's getting worse. So there were people who've been criticizing this, their worst nightmares are realized. To the right is Red Poppy Ranch guy. I watched that yesterday, actually. I swear he's a YouTube millionaire. I don't know the story. I mean, he seems like a reasonable enough guy. But how he buys brand new trucks and Jeeps and all this equipment, I have no idea. I know he's a plumber by trade, but plumbers don't make that kind of money. But good, more power to him. Now, let's jump down to the next row, far left. And we've got a tattoo video, and he has 6 views. Tattoo, man, you and I are the only... I've talked about my good buddy Tattoo before. We've known each other for like 25 years. Been in the same boat all along those 25 years. We live in completely different parts of the country. But he's been on the show. You should go back and check out the Tattoo interview. I think there's 2 interviews with him on this show. And there's one that's pretty long. That's a good one. Anyway, he's got 6 views from his video yesterday. I think you beat me. I think I got 7 views though. I think I beat you. My yesterday's video I think got 7 views. That's not to say that some of the people who viewed it only viewed it for 6 minutes, or something like that. And your video's 52 seconds. Check out Tattoo. He makes some very entertaining and interesting videos. Then we have the ultimate imbecile idiot. The guy with his 2 fists clenched looking at you like he is this guy's 113,000 views. He thinks he is the know-it-all in charge of, listen to me, I'm the king of the thing, okay? And you know what thing I'm talking about. The guy's a doofus with a capital D. Imbecilia. What an idiot. All right. Now then you have posers. So if you look directly below imbecilia, who's also posing, obviously, then you have Mary Spender, who's like this kind of hot guitarist chick from the UK. I believe she's from the UK. I'm not sure. I don't think she's French. No, I think she's from the UK. And apparently Rick Beto might have said something about her. He's the guy who does videos all the time about music, what makes this song great, etc., etc. But I'm kind of disappointed in Mary here because she's put up a posed title card. I'm against, YouTube. There's 2 types of YouTubers that just get my goat. And one is the YouTube millionaire, all right, that pretends they're living the simple life. Give me the simple life, right? The simple life is this, which isn't even showing. Well, here, this is the simple life. Trying to having a leak in your roof, not being able to afford to fix your roof, and trying to patch it from within, okay? That's the simple life. Not the YouTube millionaires that are pretending to live the simple life. And then you've got the posers. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the news of the day. And you say, well, what? That's not news, How could that be news? Maybe that's news. So I wanted to have like a Oktoberfest thing today. So a friend of mine was going to come down and go, well, I think I have enough time. She has a busy schedule. That maybe we could have a couple of beers for a couple hours. I'm like, no, I wanted to get, pretty much trashed. So I guess those days are over. Those days are gone forever. Over a long time ago. Oh, yeah. So I don't even know if I'm going to drink. It's like, if you can't follow something to its natural conclusion and get into in other words, turn into what I call boozilla here, right? See, I want to drink enough that I'm basically dancing in my bar room like Godzilla over there, I call him Boozilla, holding the Yingling lager. All right. So that ain't going to happen. I need to find a new drinking buddy. I don't want to drink every day. I just want to find somebody who at least once every couple of weeks wants to get totally, faced. I'm drinking coffee. Which is no longer hot, by the way. Excuse me. Excuse me. Pardon me. So, what did we learn today? Just think about it. We're 24 minutes into the show. You were shown... I just looked down here. I taught you that your SIM card in your smartphone, even the little tool to get it out, your SIM card is exactly the same thing that's in your ATM and credit card. And those things don't need battery power. There's enough of this, like, stuff in the air, right? This. You get it. Oy. So much dust and debris. This is this scientific device that I bring up every now and then, that if you get the light just on it, you can almost see what it says. It says, Electromagnetic Radiation Tester. And I'm going to press this button. And now it comes on. Now watch what happens when I point it at the computer. Down below where the computer is, the computer monitor itself, the sound effects computer, but then to the window, it goes off. Sound effects computer, light, this computer, light, over towards the wall, nothing, because there's a futon over there. Back to the computer. And the red light means harmful electromagnetic radiation. Now turn it off. Now that harmful electromagnetic radiation is like all this stuff that's all around us. All right? Yeah. Did I tell you that it's going to be like 77 to 80 degrees today? Even though, like the other night, it was like in low 40s. Daytime high the other day was like 48, 50, or low 50s. But anyway, so we learned that your ATM card and your credit card and any other card like that has a thing, as well as your SIM card in your smartphone, that it's all the same device that's basically tracking you. And, remember Moore's Law, which really is no longer in effect because we've reached the singularity of Moore's Law. In other words, Moore's Law started a long time ago. And the idea was every 18 months, that chips were going to shrink, and then the cost of them was going to shrink, with it. So technically these devices, they should have been giving away, iPhones, for free. Literally. Because the cost of it. I mean, it costs like $2 to make that thing. Right. Well, what about all the research and development that went into it? They haven't changed the look of those things in years. Oh, they got the bump on the back, the camera, right? Do you know what it costs to manufacture an item when you're manufacturing more than 1 million of an item? If I were to produce a unique thing, right? A singular object, speaking of Apple, a singular control like this, the cost of it would be quite expensive, right? Some craftsman would have to grab this aluminum or whatever the hell it is. I think it's aluminum. And then mold the plastic, basically, blacksmith style, forge or figure a way to shape that aluminum, right? And create some kind of unique circuit board with a, good old fashioned, whatever you call it. I mean, mine goes blank. Today's one of those blank minds. Yesterday I was real sharp as a whistle. solder. Solder together some little miniature things, make these switches, and then create this thing. Would cost a fortune to make one of them. Okay? But now if I want to reproduce 1 million of these, right? Well, I have a mold, or some kind of jig, whatever. Those plastic things are in a mold, are created. And so this thing basically, whether it's put together by some robotic machines or even manufactured by this cheap slave labor in China, which is what Apple has done for years, right? Having those nets underneath their buildings because people couldn't stand the conditions so much. They had suicide nets on the sides of all the buildings so people couldn't jump out the building and end their life because they couldn't stand working there as slaves anymore to make the iPhone and Macs. Nobody talks about that. Like where's like these reporters, right? They think, we got breaking story, so-and-so, such and such did such and such, right? Where's the story about, that one of the most popular devices and perhaps the richest company in America, right, corporation, is using slave labor and their factories have suicide nets on them. But anyway, to make a long story short, the cost per unit then of this device, because it's just aluminum and plastic and it's some mini mass-produced circuit board, whatever, that's produced by literally robotically, the cost comes down to like less than $1 or something. Per unit. So one, if someone came to me and said, I need you to create a prototype of this kind of thing, I might give them a bill of $5,000 or more. I don't know. Could be more. Depends. But if I'm mass producing millions of them and I've set up the operation, right, the price per unit goes down to, less than $1. And like I say, the R&D is covered. That's paid up front. So it's not a matter of saying, yeah, but there's the people, the R&D. No. These people that work at these companies, they just hang around with their they've got they call them campuses now because we live in a Peter Pan culture. So people get these jobs, they're making 6 and 7 figures, and they go to work a job on a campus. Right? The Facebook campus, the Apple campus, the Microsoft campus, right? And on that campus, they have their own Starbucks and stuff. And so, and Krispy Kreme donuts or something, who knows what else. But they have Starbucks and stuff. And I've seen these places. And so the people are sitting there and they've got like little, they have these group areas and they have, so they're just sitting around drinking their coffee and they have break rooms and they could play and exercise, on-site daycare, free, pet care, Some places will let people have their pet with them at their desk, and you wonder why, people are dying from like serious diseases and all this stuff because the focus isn't on that. The focus is on, like I said yesterday, it's to make a buck. They don't want to cure anything. They want to treat it. They want to come up with treatments. And they don't want the treatments to even be that potent because they want you to have a treatment every year and like extra treatments. But like I was trying to say, there's all this stuff going around. And so it's like the bugs they have, when they say, I'd like to be a fly on the wall in that place, right? Well, they have cameras and listening devices, the spy agency type of people. and the corporate spies, espionage, corporate espionage. And all they need to do now is just like plop one of these things in a room, and then it's like it's like a micro dot. And it's so small that it just draws its energy from that electromagnetic stuff that's just floating around, Wi-Fi signals and all this other stuff. I don't know. I was watching this girl, Hannah Dugan. She goes out in her van. She's real hot. She's a hot girl, hot young girl. She's got this van. She's in her 20s or something. I don't think she's more than 30. She's under 30, I'm pretty sure. And she's cute. If you watch her this week's video, she's running around, dancing out in, I don't know, Wyoming or something, or out in the desert. And so she just has this van, and she has a house and a cabin. Like, she's an interesting character. Very intelligent girl. Like, has it together, personality-wise, She's out there. It's like, anyway, so she was in the middle of this desert, and she was like kind of semi-marveling, though, in passing, that she had a signal on her cell phone, smartphone. And she literally was out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm thinking, where are they beaming that down? I have this thing, I had, when I was on unemployment and was broke, in between, before I decided to just throw in the towel and retire, I got one of those Obama phones, they called it. And then once you get it for life, As long as you make one phone call per month that stays active, you don't pay anything for it. The only problem is, I can't use this. I hardly get a signal. I'm lucky if I get one bar. And I'm like in an area, where people are walking down the street, talking nonstop on their cell phones. That iPhone I showed you doesn't have I pulled the SIM card out of it because I don't pay for cell phone service. I use Wi-Fi. But I do have that other thing, but that other thing is useless. That's why I said I don't have a cell phone for all practical purposes. Anyway, so, we learned that. You saw my experiment with, the before and after, and how people, real DIYers, live. I'm fixing a hole where the rain came in. That was the title of my show a couple days ago. And that's what it is, man. And I don't know if it's going to work or not, but it looks like kind of it might work, right? I mean, the concept behind it, you could see the thought process that I have. I did approach this with using the scientific method. I mean, if you can't get on the roof and you got a leak, I don't know. Will it work? I don't know. If it partially works, I will be happy because there's 3 different spots on my roof at this current time that are leaking. I have a total of something like 24 various, bins, pans. If you have a cat, it's like cat litter boxes. But otherwise, it would just be like considered a plastic tray of some sort. In fact, a friend of mine gave me a couple of those like aluminum foil turkey, type of trays, which are useless because they're like, the water gets in them and they want to bend. But I mean, I have a couple of those up there in some lighter leaks areas so they don't fill. Ooh, earthquake. So they don't fill too heavily so I could get them so I could dump them out the window. That's what happens when it rains. I have to keep going up every hour or so and like empty buckets and throw the water out the back window. Talk about YouTube millionaires. Yeah. And no, not here. That's not this guy, No YouTube millionaire here. This is, yeah. So, good morning. That took us about 40 minutes to get the show started. So I think it's time that we move to the title card. Good morning, America. But before I do Good Morning, America, I do have and I do believe I put it in. Where is it? It's not image of the day. I'm sorry, guys. I have to move this to the top because we want to see it. Because this is like climate. It's not climate, but it's. This is a picture by Trey Fergus. He sent me this yesterday. And he does these sunrise pictures. And I have a link down below. If you go down below in the show more, and there's some links to my book and links to my websites. And down, if you go to the last link down, there's a link to his Facebook page. And I don't know, we were like working on, he wants to put out a book of these photos. And I've got the outline of it put together, but we're going to have to take it to the next level and get this thing finished. But anyway, he takes sunrise pictures almost every day. And, it's really, it's gorgeous. And like we talked about yesterday, it's just like this two worlds we live in. One is this world of beauty. And again, this just happens to be the shore, the Atlantic Ocean, sunrise on the East Coast, but which is probably what it looks like, kind of like now, because, sun is rising at this point, or has risen. But, the same goes for, like I said, you could be in the mountains or the valleys or a park, or even those who admire cityscapes and, just nature or people, beauty, the human form, in my case, got to bring it up, the female form to me, man, is a thing of beauty. So, then a little bit of beauty in the morning, sunrise on the morning show. Isn't that nice? Trey Fergus. Check out his Facebook thing. I don't know if he wants you to or not, but you could try to become his friend. And so on my title card, since he had sent me those two photos yesterday, the one you just saw, I used the other one here on my YouTube title card. And I'm saying Good Morning, America, with a K, 2 Ks in there. And, excuse me. Sorry about that stuff, but, what can I do? It's amazing. I was thinking, as I pour more coffee, hoping that it's hot, and it's not. I'm trying to finish the rest of the pot. Because if you don't have a certain amount in volume, it'll just get ice cold anyway. But it already is. It's like, if this is lukewarm, we're already, starting to get into cooler than lukewarm. So it's cool hand, lukewarm. You get that? Cool hand, lukewarm. Sharp as a whistle, I'll tell you. Sharp as a whistle. I may have been around for 100 years, but this old bioelectric brain gears are still spinning in there. And I used to be into like voices. I used to be into voices when I was younger. I don't know. I'm crazy, you know?
This calls for some big scratching.
Yeah.
Delicious.
You know it. And
really funny. Really funny.
it's funny, and we might as well. What does my assistant say?
Okay.
She says nothing. She laughs. She just laughs. She's silly. Silly girl. I'm just playing. Do you know what line that's from? Hall & Oates. Good morning, America. So this is kind of a semi-continuation of the show that never ends and yesterday's show, because I told you we're moving into, and if you look at the title card again, which was like Lil DIY and Extinction. How did I word it exactly? I have to look again because I can't. And wrong extinction event, right? Because there was that one guy. There's these people talking about the climate crisis, right, as an extinction event almost in their minds. I mean, which is absurd. All CO2 is going to do is give us, you know, if they wouldn't be supply chain disruptions and all sorts of other things, would give us like more food and feed the 8 billion people on the planet. Mustaches get itchy. But I can assure you, I am clean. I took a shower before I went to sleep last night, and I wash my face and scrub it in the morning. I have a beard, little bit of controlled stubble, but that's the thing I'm doing. I think I'm going to keep that thing for a while. Man, I was hoping to have like a crazy Oktoberfest party, you know? It's like really disappointing. And the person that I would have been partying with, why didn't Good Morning go off? So that's not going to be me today. Party like Godzilla with a beer in his hand. Good morning, America. So now that we know that we've entered into a new, you know, world, right? How does that guy say it? You know, I think I have this guy on here. This guy.
You have actually opened the door to another dimension?
Yeah. That's now that we know that that is the truth.
Why are you telling us this?
Because it is the truth. All right?
Your papers, please.
Yeah. Right on, buddy. Don't get in mine. I don't have any. I don't have any anymore. I don't have any. I have no papers. I don't have any papers. My passport expired. Okay? That would be considered papers. And my license expired and I didn't renew it. I don't drive anymore. I have no reason to drive. I mean, I regret that. I regret letting that happen because, you know, I can't on a whim like Hannah, you know, Dugan. Check her YouTube channel out, by the way. Hannah's, just look that up. You'll find her. She's a cutie. But I can't, like her, just hop in a van or something and go for a drive, and visit some old friends or something like that. Or take a drive down to the shore there. Or even go to a box store and buy some extra caulking, you know, or roofing supplies or stuff like that, or go to the Dollar Tree without a friend who happens to be, you know, call me up and say, hey, I'm going such and such. You want to go? And I go, sure, I'll go, you know. When in reality, I'm like, yeah, right on. I get out of this place. But I mean, yeah, unless, you know, somebody calls me because they want company to go to some box store or something like that, I'm trapped. So, yeah, I have no papers. So if someone asked me for papers, it was like, what papers? What papers? It's like Woody Allen in that movie. I don't know if it was Played Against Sam, but that was like a movie he acted in but didn't write. That was one of like a few Woody Allen movies, or if not the only Woody Allen movie, perhaps. Maybe. I think he might have been in another one. He was in the original Casino Royale, that like madcap crazy one where he just acted. But and there might have been something else. But usually Woody Allen movies were written and directed by Woody Allen. But if you get a chance, and it's hard to find free, put it that way, or on the Netflixes and things like that. But it's well worth renting it because it's a low, the rent on it would be like a $2.99 probably rental or something like that. Play It Again, Sam. It's I've got to hopefully I'll see this video. I watch these things, and I'll make a note when I watch in the playback. But maybe I'll watch that. I might watch that today. It always gets me a like a big laugh.
This is really funny. Really funny.
Yeah, it's a funny movie. But I think there's a scene in there where he's, making fun, like he has these daydreams, of himself as Bogart is the idea. It's called Play It Again, Sam. And so he imagines himself as Bogart, or he sees Bogey in the room. And so he gets caught up in these things,
Go ahead and shoot. You'll be doing me a favor. Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
That kind of stuff. I got all the sound effects, man. You can't even imagine the stuff. And if you think I got stuff, you should see what Tattoo has, man. That guy's got everything. In fact, half the crap I have is from him. Yeah, anyway, but we're dinosaurs, People don't care about that stuff anymore. That's why he gets 6 views and I get 7 views. I get 1 view, though. He's beat me out. I've seen 22 views on his, and, when I've gotten 1. But he had one video go viral. Like this one, which we haven't done this in a while, so let's do it.
You got a rattlesnake inside your house. You got a rattlesnake inside your house. Oh, yeah.
There's just one in here?
Yeah, I hope.
Call David Bailey now.
Hey, David Bailey!
Well, Kingdom, eat your heart out.
Oh, yeah.
Like I say, that's a true story, too. That's the sad part about it. That's a true story. And, that Bailey guy is a real guy. That's the guy, the guy who came up to get rid of the rattlesnake. Yeah, there's some of us out here who are like having fun, and living life and all that stuff. This hat is almost like giving me the Conehead look. I got this from Sobieski Vodka, as you can see. And it's hot. It's hot in here because the heat came on, which is good for me because that, it's drying out the house. And today's going to be 77, and that means the attic will probably be like 80 degrees. So all that stuff, this stuff, right, that roofer's paint, that's going to like really dry up. So, I don't know. I might go up this morning. There's a couple of spots I wanted to maybe touch up, and I have one little brush left. Like it's a baby brush. It's only, it's one of those tiny, small brushes. Hey, it's tough when you're like, you don't have transpo, and you're just sitting around, and I have no papers. But anyway, so it was this Woody Allen movie, Play It Again, Sam, where he's like fantasizes himself as Bogey. And there's a one scene, where the guys are like, your papers, please, and he's like, I don't have any papers. Your papers, please. And it's like, he's like, I don't have any papers. I know you don't think it's funny, but
really funny. Really funny.
I think it's funny.
Okay.
And she thinks it's funny. So it's funny. Your papers, please. I mean, that's what you got to laugh at these people. People aren't laughing enough. And you got that like goofball serious guy, the guy with the fists, Look at him there, Second row, second in, next to Tattoo's video. All right. That guy, Mr. Poser, right? What an idiot. What an idiot. I criticized him right on his comments page one time, and he responded to me, right? So, I mean, at least I hand him that. At least he's like, But I basically called him out to his face, and I forget what his response was, but it wasn't like, it wasn't like a legitimate, defense, And I know he doesn't watch this show. Yeah, so I guess it's not going to be Oktoberfest. Instead, it's Good Morning America. So, and the idea of the wrong Extinction event. And remember, this show is ROCKFLUX. And of course, there's two ROCKFLUX logos on the screen right now because I've got the title card up. But, and again, check out Trey Fergus. Check out his Facebook page. I don't think he'd mind. You mind, Trey? He's not on right now, but he does check in on these shows. And, tell him I sent you. Follow him. Tell him Tony sent you. You saw his image on my on the ROCKFLUX channel. But, it's an interesting thing. And anybody who does a thing like that, I respect. And, because it's consistency, to be able to get up every day and do a thing and catalog a thing or whatever. It's like, I did this morning show, for 250 consecutive days before I started to write the book. And then I wrote the book every day consecutively for a couple of weeks. And now I'm back doing this. And I said I wasn't going to do it every day, but it's like, so far I've been doing this every day. And, that's the way you have to, if there's something that you, want to do, believe in, or just maybe, enjoy, it's like, it's stick-to-itiveness. Stick-to-itiveness. That word. I don't know if it's a real word, but you've heard it before. Stick-to-itiveness. Stick-to-itiveness. You say it fast, it makes sense. Stick-to-itiveness. Everybody. Stick-to-itiveness. And, I respect people who have stick-to-itiveness. And a lot of people don't. And I'll tell you, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but that required a lot of stick-to-itiveness. Oh, man. That's why I was in bed for 10 hours. And you wouldn't think it wasn't, it's contorting, and trying to get into these ridiculous, like I say, if you really look close behind these green slats that were like sawzawed out, there's not a lot of space in there. And so trying to get in there with like a brush and putting tape or caulking, and maybe having a palette knife to spread things out and touching up, getting the brush in on all those little nails, thinking that, and talking to myself up there, if a nail is rusty, then it must have had water on it, right? And just oxidize in general, because it's not really a humid room. It's an attic, it has good circulation and stuff. See, that's one good thing I have going for me. Because even with the deluge and the flood and the puddles that were there from the last storm we had, they were like gone, like, you know, like that. Because I have a cross flow and, you know, and all of that. So I don't have a mold problem in that regard, which is like, thank God. But, you know, it's the idea of getting, it was like on your knees, squeezing, trying to get in these tight spaces, then get up, you know, reaching up, and then, you know, up and down, up, over, to the left. And then there's 3 different spots in the room where I was doing it. And yeah, you know, and that's just as bad as running a marathon, you know. So it wasn't, it wasn't something, excuse me, aerobically, you know, taking something out of you, but it was physically, you know, muscularly draining, you know. It would be the equivalent of, I guess, you know, stationary weightlifting, you know, doing various different, you know, things on some kind of, I used to have this exercise gym in my room, my last place, but it was I built it in the bedroom and there was no way to get it out. I wasn't about to try to take it apart. But, you know, you could do about, I don't know, 10 different types of exercises on the things, you know, leg lifts, you know, these chest things, you know, pull down, you know, this stuff behind your, you know, get behind the, you know, the back and all that stuff. And the thing is, I've been doing this now for a couple of weeks, so I'm not sore because I've contorted so much, you know, on the various stages of this process that those muscles are actually, you know, they're ready, you know, they're in tune. I don't know what you call it. But that wasn't the thing. But the workout of doing it, like I say, as semi-stationary as it was, I mean, I had to move around from different stations in the room, was enough to, you know, I was spending energy, serious muscle energy. So I could have eaten a pulled pork sandwich and a pepperoni pizza yesterday, and I would have still lost a couple of pounds, put it that way. Yeah. It was calorie burning, muscle burning type of stuff, burns fat. But I did it, and I had the stick-to-itiveness to do it. And a lot of people today don't have that, you know, a certain laziness. You know, you don't want to do a thing. You know, and especially something like that. It's like, you know, like I say, and you know, your first instinct as a human, you know, as a person, you know, it's not uncommon for you to feel like, you know, well, I don't want to do this, you know, but you just got to endeavor to persevere, right? The line from Josie Wales that the chief said, that he was told by the government representative. Endeavor to persevere. And he held up the piece of candy. Well, I have this rock candy, but it's not for eating. It's for looking through. You
really funny. Really funny.
You just don't get it.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
I'm trying to do a show and nobody's laughing along with me. And actually right now, nobody is watching. I am 1 hour into ROCKFLUX YouTube channel. Good morning, America show. And I have not had a single viewer. And it's 7:24 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So, because, sometimes I would look at it and go, like I do these shows, I'd start at 4 a.m. And I'd figure, well, the only people up are, my buddies over in Ireland and, Europe, Norway, occasionally I have some people tune in from, over and across the pond. But, it's like, come on, it's 7:25 a.m. You should be up by now, Nobody in this country works, and those who are work, they got their smartphone with them or they're sitting at their desk watching YouTube. This is the show of shows. Anyway, so I finished the 10th book, the 10th book. I mean, it's amazing. What does it say on the back of it? The front, of course, you see on the screen up above. The back you don't see. You have to buy the book to see the back. And the back says, this is the final tome, TOME, of a 10-book volume that explores the mind and biography of one of the most influential, yet under the radar, truly legendary pop culture figures you never heard of. Yours truly. I also finished the menu for my buddy yesterday. Check this out. I have to take the title card out. That's pretty intense. I mean, I had to do that from scratch. It's a lot of typography and, artwork. Things I do. And I got my list of things that I need to get today. And there was something I was thinking about this morning that I wanted to add to this list, and now I can't think of what it is. I know I need Lysol spray. But I'm hoping that I could get apples. Because, you kind of get it's apple season. Early apple season. October's the best. There's something that some people will tell you that the colder it gets with the apple on the tree, the sweeter the apple. Have you ever heard that one? I don't know. I have 2 apple trees out in the backyard that are not. I think the one is going to produce apples next year. It's about 12 feet tall, fairly thick and healthy. The other one's kind of like weak and, limp. There's 2 times when you could trim a tree the way I understand it, though I don't pretend to be some kind of expert in any of this stuff. And that is when, in the fall after, all the sap is like gone down to the roots, when they're dormant. And then, or in the right before spring, before it comes back, it starts coming back out of dormancy. So my plan is the one that looks kind of weak, I want to trim that down to encourage it to grow, out and thicker. And the one that's gone 12 feet or higher, it might even be 14 feet, I'm just going to probably take about a foot off of that. Because, I mean, if an apple were to go, I can't get it. I need a ladder to get up there. So I want that one as well to be more bushy and thicker, stronger, to produce more fruit within, whatever. Of course, I have these birds and all this other stuff, so hopefully I don't, it's not a battle with, I haven't created a can of worms by, I moved the bird feeder last year for the purpose of that it was too close. I was expanding my garden and it was too close to the apple tree. So I moved it closer to the house. But that yard, man, is insane. Like I said yesterday, it's just a jungle. Must drive the neighbors crazy. Crazy lady neighbor. So what do I mean by two things? You know what I mean by the Lil DIY. Okay, we went through that. All right. That's an ongoing saga, and I will keep you informed of that. Remember, this is the Tony Caravan live show, right?
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
So this is a podcast, webcast, vlog, right? It's under people and vlogs, okay, partly. But the other part that says wrong extinction event and Good Morning America. And those are two different things. You know, I'm just adjusting my chair. It's a piece of crap. You know, why couldn't I sell like 500 books? You know, and a couple hundred shirts and stuff. It's getting light in the background. 7:31 a.m. Wow. So the wrong extinction event is this climate crisis thing that they're pushing. It's another one of these deflection things away from, like I told you, this Afghanistan, this crazy stuff that's going on at the border and other socioeconomic geopolitics that's happening around the world, not to mention domestically. We're having supply chain interruptions and basically hyperinflation. I mean, things are literally out of control. And there's like a guy in charge who is some kind of like, you know, one day they seem to drug him up and he's like, and then the next day he's like, go out and fight out in the back. This is like, and everyone's covering like this. I've never seen such deflection and covering as I have in the past several years by the media, you know, and it's like for both, you know, it's just insane. So Good Morning America. Those of you who think for some reason there's like we're not living in a Marxist country. All right. You know, face the facts, you know, the empire's, you know, has been, you know, toppled. And these people in charge, they've got the game rigged. Forget it. It's not, you know, you ain't going to save anything or build back better or reset. None of them. The unholy trinity of save America, build back better, and the Great Reset, right? All three basically mean the same thing, and all three are just like slogans, empty slogans, like campaign promises that no one ever keeps. Or if they were naive enough to try, they failed at doing, right? It's like draining a swamp. The swamp was never drained because it can't be, because the country is a swamp. You know, Washington, D.C. is a swamp. You drain it, and then there is no Washington, D.C. There is no, you know, in other words, it's a lose-lose situation, okay? If you drain the swamp, it's the former United States of America, because the entire country is, the basis foundation, this country governance has become one big bureaucracy, one big swamp. So you drain the swamp and that's the end of it. You know, unless you would have to form a new country from scratch, which is not an easy thing to do. Okay. All right. Or you listen to what I'm saying and just say it's the former US of A, because this process of takeover has been going on for decades. It didn't happen in like an election or two. This has been going on for decades. These people have been planning this all along, you know? Well, actually, it's the way it's been for a long time. See, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, and again, I say this stuff and I know people can't accept it, but I'm saying it because it's the way it is. You know, people have talked about the Civil War and used it as some divisive thing. But it's, you know, no one ever really talks about the Civil War is the U.S. didn't make it. Right? The U.S. only ever lasted about 60 years. Because after 60 years, it was torn apart into a civil war. And then they built a new nation. And that new nation that was built after the post-Civil War, right, was a different country. And what we have, right? I mean, the country splits in half in Civil War. All right. Which means, you know, if that happened, if you see, here's the way you have to look at it. If you were looking at, Spain, right? And then Spain broke out into civil war, right? And then there was some new form, and then one side wins over the other, and there's some new formation. You know, you wouldn't say, oh, it's the same old Spain. You would say, this is the new whatever. It's like Italy, you know, they are reforming governments all the time over there. You know, that country, you know, it's like, you know, it's a prime example of, like, you know, 2,000 years ago, you know, Rome falls and Italy remains, you know. But, you know, they've never gotten that place together again. You know, and they've tried everything. And, you know, people think this is like, oh, how anti, you know, American to talk like this. But no, it's like, you know, just look around. But the serious thing, so you know, with all this deflection about the absurdity and this idea of people not coming to acceptance, you know, of this Marxist, you know, out of control country that, you know, remains, all right? You know, and then you still have this beautiful, you know, from sea to shining sea thing. I mean, that's true. You know, it's still America the Beautiful, right? There's no doubt about that. You can't take away the beauty of America. There's great people in this country. There's nice people. There's beautiful people. There's beautiful places. You know, all of that. That's still here. You know, that remains. But, you know, I'm just not interested in these people who are trying to pretend as if they're either trying to preserve something that is long gone or that they're going to change something, reset, build back better, or say, you know what I mean? It's like, don't mess with people. Why are you lying to them? And then this media that deflects away from all of this, you know, unbelievable stuff that this international crime syndicate that's taken control over the former U.S. and runs the corporatocracy, which is the government, and the media is covering and deflecting for them. So forget about that. And so the question is, what are you know? So like I was talking before, like what's the whole, you know, what's it all about, right? You know? And the idea is that it comes back to, and the reason the sun's in this picture, and the reason I had originally, you know, and put up this other picture, this Trey Fergus picture, is that ball in the sky is going to be the extinction event, the near extinction event for us. So what you're seeing, this beauty, Imagine a wave 2 miles high that would be so high that you wouldn't even be able to see that sun. And imagine that before that happens, moments before, there would be this like dust cloud coming off of that thing, coming at this planet. A tsunami so high that it would basically cover the continents. In other words, the Pacific will cover North America and the Atlantic will cover Europe and flow into Asia. You know, what they call the Indian Ocean, you know, will cover that southern portion and all those, that archipelago, whatever, you know, of what, you know, and including Australia and, you know, all that Southeast Asian areas. And everything will be scoured over like a Brillo pad. And that's coming down the pike. That's the real extinction event. Not like 0.004 CO2 that, you know, the trees breathe and the plants breathe, and why my backyard is like growing like crazy. And why I've had a great harvest this year. Right? And remember, those things that breathe 0.004 CO2 are the things that give off the oxygen, right, that we need to survive. Not only provides us with air to breathe, but food to eat, and the main life form on the planet, which are the trees, the flora, the trees, plants, you know, crops and everything. You know, that's what they want, right? I was telling somebody yesterday on the phone briefly about how it's a carbon-based civilization. People don't realize that. And it's a carbon-based planet. That's what the Earth is, really. And so even things like the fuels, and I, you know, because I've used tar, before I was using this other roofing stuff, I had put tar, you know, on the roof. And I was explaining, like, you know, you go to the Brea Tar Pits, which I lived in LA, and, you know, one time I walked from Hollywood to Santa Monica, actually to Venice, I think. I walked across LA, you know, one Saturday. I forget how long it took me. I don't know if it took 2 hours, an hour or two, or whatever. I mean, LA's big. It's a big flat place. But anyway, so I walked past, well, I didn't walk past it, I stopped. The Brea Tar Pits, you know, where there's this bubbling tar, and, you know, they've turned it into somewhat of a touristy thing. You know, they got pictures of dinosaurs and stuff. But I mean, they found things people study the Brea Tar Pits. But that's like that's the ultimate example of like crude oil. Like crude oil is like tar, you know, asphalt. People don't know that. You know, it's organic, right? So this is a carbon-based planet. And so not only is this 0.004% CO2, which is such a minuscule amount, all right, that gives all this life, this greenery, this, you know, food, right? And is instrumental in giving us our own oxygen, right? But it's organic. It's, you know, we're a carbon-based life form. We're a carbon-based planet. And for these people to have somehow twisted the minds of children and adults into this idea that somehow 0.004 CO2 is a bad thing and is causing climate crisis, and they're ignoring the sun, right? Remember I told you yesterday, we were watching, it was 50 degrees, all right, outside, okay? And that was about 15 minutes before sunrise. And then suddenly, 15 minutes before sunrise, because like I always say, it's as dark as the night's going to get, even though it's the wee hours of the morning, the temperature dropped to 48 degrees because the sun had been away for such a long period of time that the planet was cooling, overnight. And people don't realize that this ball in the sky is the source of controls our climate, and it has cycles. It has a magnetic field that protects the solar system from cosmic rays. It gives us vitamin D, right? It provides photosynthesis for everything that grows. All right? It gives us heat, warmth, light. And when you read these documents that the UN IPCC and the Paris Accord and all these type of people put out, they neglect and downplay the sun. Has anything to do with climate. They go, well, there was one paper I read. These are peer-reviewed papers in the official, the big journals, the respected journals. And I was actually reading one of these recently, a recent paper, when because there was a new thick, IPCC report that recently came out, and now we're back in the Paris thing and all that kind of stuff. And I was reading this thing, and they had, and this paper, this peer-reviewed, paper in this prestigious, allegedly prestigious journal. Like the main reference to the sun was, well, it has some effects maybe in the extreme upper atmosphere of the earth. Now, these are professors, scientists, okay, astrophysicists. I mean, the whole gambit of people, just going down the line. Now, how could any of these people, high IQ individuals, and I've seen like these even MIT guys, and they all are like hook, line, and sinker bought into this. Guys with brains, right? Smart people, men and women who should know better. And it's, what do they say? The 800-pound gorilla in the room or something. They're ignoring that 800-pound gorilla there. It's called the sun. All right? Did you ever get a sunburn? Did you ever go to the beach to get a suntan or hang out poolside? Did you ever notice that it's cool at night when the sun's on the other side, when the planet, is like spun around and the sun's on the other side? Have you noticed the changing of the seasons, through axial tilt? Are you aware that our magnetic field is weakened and the sun has cycles that approximately every 11 years, and then there are grand solar cycles that we've studied through ice cores, through tree rings, through archaeological digs? And they come out with these reports, and it's like sometimes it's like 1,000 pages of like gobbledygook. And then the media just reports whatever the headline is in it and says, oh yeah, we're headed for extinction because of, man-made, climate change. We're a carbon-based planet. We're a carbon-based people. All right? It's organic. And the same people are like are vegans who are all buying organic food, right? Well, guess what? Carbon is organic. All right? So-called fossil fuels or whatever. They're not really fossil fuels either, right? I mean, this is organic. This is mainly plant matter. All right? It's such craziness, you know. I mean, there's a clear difference. As somebody's out there, yeah, well, that's not, you know, what about smog or something? That's a big difference between something that's going on in like communist China, smokestack industries, you know, that are spewing out pollution into the atmosphere. You know, that should be stopped. I'm all for it. But why not, you know, that's a different thing. China's not even like included in any of these things. They get a pass. They have a new thing, like you could buy carbon credits. So countries like China and stuff are just going to keep buying carbon credits through the year 2050 or the year 2100. The planet's not going to make it that long, by the way. This solar event that I'm talking about is happening in like 2046. Between now and then. It could happen earlier. You can't pinpoint something like that down. When you're talking about grand cycles of 12,000 years, you know, you can't say it's going to happen on such and such a day or even such and such a year or decade. It's approximately 12,000 years, and that time is nigh. So get with it, people. You know, if you're falling, you know, so that's the part that's really crazy. So you've got this media, pardon me, you've got this media that's ignoring that this country's been taken over by an organized crime syndicate. It's become a corporatocracy, you know, big tech, big pharma, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You know, basically, and implementing Marxist type policies that have failed and have been responsible for literally hundreds of millions of deaths, you know, within the past century. You know, so it's like documented. And this country is like buying into this Klaus guy and the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset and Build Back Better. And they're putting in policies that literally there are, you know, billions of people alive on this planet that I've actually firsthand seen or their relatives were the victims of these kinds of policies. And these guys think you're going to, like, you know, it's not going to happen again. Hundreds of millions of people died under this. So yeah, that's your man-made disaster. Is the corporatocracy, is, you know, the World Economic Forum is the former United States of America. What's going on? Good morning, America. All right. Not even the Russians are foolish enough. The Russians know better than to go back to the USSR days. And I've known many a Russian, and I've always liked the Russians I've met. Good people, decent people, right? Ones that have come to this country. So, yeah, you know, it's pretty crazy, you know. Why not pull up a sound effects for it? But yeah, it's pretty wild, you know, that kind of stuff, you know, this is going on. And so I'm going to just keep going with this kind of thing, you know, and I don't care that nobody watches it. It's out here for you to see. And, you know, I'm disappointed in, even with locals.com, you know, I'm going to stay with locals.com, but I post links to this stuff there. But, you know, nobody's watching these things. You know, you tune in, you could fast forward or whatever, you know, and I post links to this on Facebook, you know, and I've got people following me that used to know me, you know, and stuff. And, you know, in other places, Minds and Tumblr and even the old Twitter account. And a handful of people maybe every now and then, you know, watch these things or listen to this. And everybody else is just so mesmerized by the, you know, The mainstream media, it's full of lies. And see, that's the thing. The truth is so hard for people to accept because the lies that they're spewing out are so fantastic that it makes the truth seem, impossible, right? You can't, when I say organized crime syndicate, people think, well, you're crazy. What organized crime syndicate? What do you think the World Economic Forum is? You ever listen to these people? And what about this idea, this Davos set, which is what's the World Economic Forum, right? What gives these couple thousand people at best, right? The upper echelon of the so-called self-appointed ruling elite, deciding that they're going to rule over 8 billion people on the planet. And you think that's okay. You think that's okay. I mean, can't you see, the forest for the trees? And you think what I'm saying is like off the wall or something. No. It's common sense. It's in your face. You don't even have to hear me talk about it. It's in your face. And yet people just, they can't grasp it. They can't put two and two together. They have no common sense, no understanding of reality. Right? They just won't accept the truth. To their own detriment. It's to your own detriment. If someone were to tell you had 20 years to live, and I would take it seriously. If someone would tell you that, what's going on now that is being manipulated by an organized crime syndicate, basically the mob, type, I would take it seriously. And if everything you looked at was clearly, like without even question, like so in your face clear, that big tech, big pharma, right? Military contractors, the Federal Reserve, right? That these people were, and lobbyists, K Street. This is all real people, real corporations, right? That they were controlling Congress and the White House and writing the legislation, right? And getting special treatment. And there was a thing called the revolving door. The former chairman of the Federal Reserve is the Treasury Secretary. Come on, it's in your face. Big tech is in violation of the First Amendment of the United States through a terms of service, right? The Constitution giveth, but terms of service taketh away. It's right in your face. And you're like, I wonder what's on Netflix tonight, this next month. Or I'm going to watch the nightly news. And I want to see what happened to that, if they ever caught that guy that got that girl. What about Afghanistan? What about the heroin trade? Afghanistan being the number one producer of poppies and heroin in the world. What about what about the cartels? The drug cartels, the mules, human trafficking coming over the border, right? What about hyperinflation? What about that's really happening? Just go to the store and look, right? What about the supply chain disruptions, that have already started and are going to get worse and you can't buy things, right? What about all the Marxist policies, right? What about everything I've been talking about on this show, right? What about this?
Your papers, please.
That is a reality. Come on. I could sit here and just list 100 things. It's right in your face. But you're like, let's see, what am I going to do today? Right? You just don't get it. They're deflecting you away from reality. 0.004 CO2. It's a carbon-based civilization. We're carbon-based life forms. The sun, that ball in the sky, that's what gives us heat. That's what controls the climate. Not 0.004 CO2, for crying out loud. I don't even like the guys, because some people that'll even go, they'll like try to semi-acknowledge it. Well, it has, there is a fact. No, it's negligible. It is nothing. The entire climate crisis thing, right? And people are just accepting this stuff. And this guy walking around. One day he's all coked up. And then the next day he's like bumbling and doing the shuffling off like some poor guy in a nursing home. It's all in your face. It's in your face and you don't see it. You can't see the forest for the trees. And the trees are the major life form. This is their world, by the way. I say this all the time. It's not our world. It's not our planet. It's a tree's planet, and the aquatic life. You've been in a plane, hopefully. I've been in a plane. Like I say, I've logged hundreds of thousands of air miles because I've been around the globe. All right. Many a time. And when you're up there, what do you see? Trees and aquatic life. Right? Trees and oceans. You don't see anything else. If you're flying at night, sometimes you see lights from the city. Right? So there's human development. That's it. Wake up. Somebody tuned in and tuned out when I got into that. Average watch time, 2 minutes and 56 seconds. Right? Average watch time, 2 minutes and 56 seconds. People don't care. They just don't care. Today's garbage day. I just got a notification. Today is garbage day. Do you care that today's garbage day?
Really funny. Really funny.
Okay.
You don't care about anything. You don't care about anything.
Good morning.
Anyway, good morning, America. Hey, back here is the Codex book, which is the book prior to Then What? So get them both. They're on sale at Amazon. Just look down below. And if you want to see a link to those photos of the sun that I showed before, there's a link to Trey's Facebook page. Check it out. Otherwise, I guess I'll see you folks tomorrow or the next day or whenever, and we'll follow up with some of the stuff we talked about earlier. So thanks for watching. Visit TonyCaravanLive.com, RockFLUX.com. It's the same page, and you'll find links and stuff to great solar stuff there. There's a direct link to get the print version of my book. Buy the print version of the book. It's only $9.95. It's informative, and you need it. So get it. Get it now.
Okay.
Thank you.